Hello, welcome to Algebra. Today we're going to learn how to divide polynomials. We've been multiplying them, we've been factoring them, and now it's time to learn how to divide them. Okay, so first things first, we're going to factor the numerator and or denominator normally. Then we're going to simplify. Something should cancel out. Don't forget to always look for the GCF. All right, so I looked at the GCF here. There is no GCF here. There's nothing that can go into all these, right, except for one, and that's not going to change anything. All right, so remember I take my first term and my last term and I multiply those together. X squared times negative 10 will give me negative 10x squared. And then remember I take that middle term, that negative 3x, and that's going to go down here, negative 3x, and I say what times what will give me negative 10x squared, but will also add to get me negative 3x. Well, let's think about it. 10 times 1, that won't work. 5 times 2 gives me 10, and if I make one of those negatives, that would work, yeah. So negative 5x and 2x would work. Negative 5x times 2x will give me negative 10x squared. Negative 5x plus 2x will give me negative 3x. So that works. Okay, so now you can either do this by grouping or you can do it by box, remember? So let's do it by box first. I like doing it by box. Okay, and then my first step is I want to put my first term here, this x squared, and then I'm putting my last term down here. And then remember, these two are the terms that go in the other boxes, like here, negative 5x and 2x. It doesn't matter which one you put where, right? All right, so now I'm going to go row by row, column by column, and try and figure this out, what they have in common. So let's see here. This x plus 2, that's one side of my box. That x2 is part of my box. I'm trying to figure out what times x plus 2 will get me this x squared minus 3x minus 10. All right, so what times x will get me x squared? Well, that would be x, right? And let's check this box here. 2 times x gives me 2x. That works. All right, what times x will get me negative 5x? Well, that would be negative 5. And let's check this. 2 times negative 5 gives me negative 10. There we go. I got my two factors now. So my first factor is the one I was dividing by. That's that x plus 2. My second factor is that x minus 5. And remember, I'm dividing by x plus 2. That's what the question told me, right? So what can cancel out here? Well, the thing that can cancel out is these x plus 2's, right? Because anything divided by itself is 1. X plus 2 divided by x plus 2 would give me 1, so those go away. And what am I left with? I'm left with x minus 5. So my answer would be x minus 5. So basically what you're doing is you're factoring it, and they gave you one factor. This is basically one factor of this polynomial. You're looking for the other factor. You're saying what times this will give me my original polynomial. Okay? Let's do another one. All right, so first things first, I look for GCF. I don't see a GCF in the top one at all, right? There's nothing on the top one. I do see a GCF in the bottom one, though. I see a GCF here because I have 2 and 8. So both of those are even, so I can divide that by 2. So my GCF down here is 2. My GCF is 2. Okay, so I can factor that out, and that's going to give me x minus 4. 2x divided by 2 is x. Negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. Okay? All right, so from there, I'm going to factor this top one. I'm factoring this out, all right? So there's no GCF in the top, so I'm going to take my first term, this x squared, and my last term, that negative 8, and I'm going to multiply it, and I get negative 8x squared. And I'm going to say what times what gives me negative 8x squared, but adds to give me negative 2x. So let's think about this. What times what gives me negative 8? Well, negative 8 times 1, but if I add those, that would give me negative 7. That doesn't work. I got negative 4 times 2. That gives me negative 8, and negative 4 plus 2 gives me negative 2. There we go. So it would be negative 4x, and it would be 2x. Those are my factors of this, right? These two multiply to give me this, and they add to give me this. All right, so we just did box method. Another way you can do this is by grouping them, right? So we learned how to group, right? So we can do x squared, and then I'm rewriting, instead of writing this middle term, I'm breaking it apart into these two terms. So x squared's first, and then I have minus 4x, and then I have plus 2x, and then I have minus 8. That's originally from back up here, right? Minus 8. Okay, so when I group these, remember I'm grouping my first two together, and I'm grouping my last two together. And I'm saying, all right, what do these have in common? Well, x squared and minus 4x, what do they have in common? Well, they both have an x. What's left over? Well, I took one x away, so there's one x still remaining. There were two x's. And now negative 4x, I took out the x, I'm just left with minus 4. All right, now I gotta do the same thing for this one. 2x and minus 8, what do they have in common? Well, they both have a 2. That can be pulled out. What's left over? Well, x and minus 4. All right, so now what are my two factors? My two factors are the things that's inside the parentheses, so that x minus 4, let's write that up here, x minus 4 is one of my factors. What's my other factor? Well, it's the thing that's left over, this x and this positive 2. X plus 2. And then I'm dividing it by x minus 4. All right, so what can cancel out here? Well, what can cancel out is the x minus 4s, right? So the x minus 4s would cancel out. And I factored out a 2, a GCF, right? So what's left over is my answer. So my answer here would be 2, because that was my GCF, and then my other factor, this x plus 2. And then that's my answer. So we did one by grouping, and we did one by box earlier, right? Okay, so let's do one more. Let's do this one down here. 7x squared plus 12x plus 5. There's no GCF in that, because 7 can only be divided by 7, right? And 5 can only be divided by 5, and 7 can't go into 5, so there's no GCF. All right, so that means I take my first term and my last term and I multiply them. 7 times 5. What is 7 times 5? Well, 7 times 5 is 35, and then that has an x squared, so it'd be 35x squared. All right, that's what I'm multiplying. All right, then my middle term, this 12x, goes down here, and I say what times what gives me 35x squared, but adds to give me 12x. Well, we just did it. 7 times 5 gives me 35. 7 plus 5 gives me 12. So it'd be 7x and 5x. All right, then from here I can either do box or I can do grouping like I did in the example above it. Let's do box one more time. Box, box, box. So I make my box, right? Remember my first term, this 7x squared, goes in my first box, 7x squared. The last term, that 5, goes in my last box. And instead of this term, I'm writing these two terms, because this and this add to give me this. So 7x can go here, and 5x can go here. And remember, it doesn't matter which order I put these two in. It only matters for these two. The 7x squared and the 5 matter. The 2x, regular x's, do not. All right, so the x plus 1 is one of my factors, so I'm going to write that on one of my sides. So I'm trying to find the other side of my box. All right, so what times x will give me 7x squared? Well, that would be 7x. And that works because 7x times x gives me 7x squared. 7x times 1 gives me 7x. All right, what times x will get me 5x? Well, that would be 5. X times 5 is 5x. 1 times 5 is 5. All right, so we know that this one over here cancels out because that's what we're dividing by. So what's my answer? Well, it's this right up here in green that's left over. So my answer would be 7x plus 5. Okay, so that is how we divide polynomials. You just factor the thing and you're looking to cancel one of your factors out. So your factors, you can do that either by box or you can do that by grouping. Either way, you'll get the same answer. Just do the method that you feel most comfortable with. If you have any questions, ask a teacher. And if you want, go ahead and try this one on your own. Hint, it's not in standard form up here. Change that to standard form. So you want to put this negative 3n squared first. All right, see if you can do that one on your own. Get it checked by a teacher when you're done. I'll catch you later. If you have any questions, see me in class. See ya, bye.